Ever wondered who the most powerful person in a medieval king's chamber really was? You might imagine generals or bishops, but what if I told you the king's most trusted ally had a job nobody envied, and that this odd role changed the fate of English history? Today, we're digging into the secret world of medieval royal hygiene, the bizarre science of bum wiping through the centuries, and the shadowy power of an official with a title most people still can't say with a straight face: the groom of the stool. Across thousands of years, humanity has been remarkably inventive when it comes to staying clean. Forget the soft, scented rolls we know now. Imagine a world where your only choices were moss, handfuls of straw, tough leaves, or, if you were particularly unlucky, nothing but your own palm. Some archaeologists claim that early humans weren't too picky, using whatever felt closest to nature. Others have found that animal furs, smooth shells, or feathers were sometimes pressed into service. If that sounds rough, it's about to get worse. The ancient Greeks and Romans took toilet tech up a notch, though not in a way you'd want to try. In Athens, people wiped with flat pebbles, or even shards of pottery called ostraka. It's been rumored that these ostraka held the names of unwanted citizens, a final act of dirty revenge before banishing someone for a decade. As if shaming someone wasn't enough, their name might literally end up in the muck. In Roman bathhouses, community sticks with attached sponges dipped in vinegar or brine passed from person to person without much concern for hygiene. Some say long-term use left people with a burning reminder not easily forgotten, from external sores to outright infections. Still, everyone just kept the assembly line of cleansing moving, but there was always a darker side lurking right beneath the surface. Far from Europe, centuries before the first roll was ever squeezed for softness, China was quietly perfecting its own comfort revolution. Early references tell of toilet paper as far back as the 6th century, reserved for scholars and emperors. No surprise, since plain paper was already a luxury. By the Ming Dynasty, the imperial court reportedly had tens of thousands of sheets made each year, some specially perfumed just for the emperor's family. Foreign visitors marveled that locals wiped not with water, but with fine paper. Meanwhile, Buddhist monks in Asia crafted reusable cleaning sticks, slicing bamboo or wood, wrapping the ends in cloth, and giving them a wash between uses. Though archaeologists digging up the remains of these ancient tools discovered evidence of persistent parasites that must have made every visit to the outhouse a risky affair. Cleanliness, it seems, always came at a price, but few jobs would ever demand more from a person's dignity than the position about to make its entrance. Let's step inside the velvet-draped privy of England's Tudor court. Here, the king's privacy was sacred. So sacred, in fact, that someone had to orchestrate every moment, right down to the royal, well, you get the idea. Enter the legendary groom of the stool. What began as a helper responsible for maintaining the monarch's commode and offering cleansing towels soon grew into the ultimate position of trust. Behind the heavy doors, the groom didn't just handle the king's hygiene. He controlled access, kept secrets, and sometimes pulled the strings of power from the most private seat in the land. Historians say the king's closest confidences were often whispered in these moments, away from eavesdroppers or political rivals. Holding the chamber pot might have looked demeaning, but in truth, this job opened the door to unimaginable influence, and the courtly rumor mill buzzed with speculation about what the groom really knew. Some even claimed that a savvy groom could steer royal decisions for his allies, offer silent counsel that shaped policies, or discreetly pass on sensitive information. A few notorious grooms were accused of using their proximity to settle scores or gain land and titles. Their rivals never quite sure what secrets might be turned against them. It's been said the best way to sway a king was to catch him when he was most vulnerable, which, in the absence of modern locks and privacy, usually meant right in the act. And when kings traveled from palace to palace, so did their private stalls, with their chosen confidant always close by. Everything had to be arranged: curtains, basins, even a secure place for the treasured close stool. To serve was to know, and to know was to hold power most courtiers never dreamed of. Ordinary people, of course, faced a much grittier reality. The majority made do with whatever nature provided, scraps of old straw, spongy moss from the forest, sometimes a bucket of water poured liberally for washing. Straw was cheap and everywhere, moss only slightly more difficult to find, but neither brought much comfort. In cities, managing waste was a public concern. Chamber pots splattered into open ditches, and hygiene hacks spread through word of mouth. How to use the right leaf, or where to find the softest moss. Some folk tales even mention special lucky plants said to improve the experience, though not always successfully. Unsurprisingly, outbreaks of disease could sweep entire towns, with some blaming it on poor hygiene, or even certain cursed spots in communal privies. No wonder the privy was often a place of gossip, embarrassment, and the occasional practical joke gone very wrong. Yet even with all the discomfort, there are records of people getting creative and desperate to keep things clean. Then there were the wealthy and learned, who occasionally went to extremes. When paper became more widely made in Europe, it was still a treasure most wouldn't dream of wasting. Yet there's evidence some nobles got hands on old manuscripts, religious tracts, or even unwelcome letters, putting them to the ultimate and unmentionable use. There are rumors of guests at certain banquets finding entire pages of enemy poetry put to work in the privy as an act of layered insult. In the 18th century, books and newspapers started to appear in the rooms of the privileged as double-duty reading and wiping material. There are even stories of people excommunicated for desecrating the wrong texts, though these tales, while juicy, remain largely speculative, since no one liked to confess to such deeds. What's truly wild is how late true toilet paper arrived on the scene. Not until the late 1800s did enterprising inventors market the first medicated papers. Some even warned that printed newspaper ink could poison tender portions, as one ad put it. Yet for many in the early 20th century, newspaper squares on a nail or dried corn cobs in a basket were still the norm, even as the upper class indulged in perfumed, quilted, or medicated options. These days, we're spoiled for choice. You can find rolls scented with everything from coconut oil to vanilla, even ones themed for holidays or scented like seasonal fruit. Some rumors claim luxury hotels stock brands softer than royal bedding, though exactly what medieval monarchs would have thought of rhubarb-scented paper is anyone's guess. Take a moment to think about it. The next time you reach for a soft, perforated roll, you're experiencing the peak of a very strange, very political journey. From ancient feuds scratched onto pottery, to royal secrets whispered behind velvet curtains, from parasites in bamboo sticks to perfumed extravagance in imperial china. The story of staying clean is much bigger and dirtier than you might imagine, and the legacy of the groom of the stool, with all its secret power, still whispers through corridors of power today. Never underestimate the person who controls the king's comfort.